Hello, book people. PT Hilton here with my June TBR. So June is going to be an exciting month for me in that the third book in my trilogy, my Deadlock trilogy that I wrote, is coming out. It's called The Broken Clock. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be an exciting month. I've got new covers for every book in the trilogy, and I'm also going to be releasing a kind of an omnibus edition, I'm calling it, of the whole trilogy in one volume. Very excited about that as we get closer. Hopefully, like a week before it comes out. It's supposed to come out on June 19th. Hopefully, a week before it comes out, I can do a little video showing the new covers to all three as well as the bind up. I'm excited about the bind up because I do this thing on my site where you can, if you buy a book from my site, not only do I sign it and personalize it, but I also handwrite like 10 annotations in the book, just saying like, hey, here's where this scene came from. Here's a little piece of backstory that didn't make it in the story about this particular scene. It's something cool that I can do because I can understand why Stephen King or even like a mid career kind of mid list kind of writer would not be able to do that. But that's one cool thing about being kind of near the beginning of my writing career is I'm small enough that I can have time to do cool stuff like that, and I'm excited about doing that, especially with the bind up of all three books, because in the third book I can say, hey, look back at page 111 and you can see where this was set up or whatever. So I'm very excited about that. Really exciting month as far as all that stuff goes. Now, with all that being said, the books that I'm going to read in June. Because of all that, in May I don't want to call it a reading slump really, because I did read quite a lot, but I found that I was very busy and my chunks of time to read were a little bit shorter than usual. So instead of like being able to sit down and read for 45 minutes or an hour, I was reading more for like 10 or 15 minutes. And because of that, I didn't read as many books. I recently got a Marvel Unlimited subscription, which lets you read like the majority of the Marvel comics back catalog. So I was reading a lot of comics. When I found that I had 15 minutes rather than picking up a novel and trying to get into it for 15 minutes, I was more picking up a comic and reading a whole issue of the comic. To kind of combat this month, because I'm sure this is going to be a busy month as well, I am going to focus mostly on shorter books. So I'm going to be reading books 2 and 3 of the Dresden Files. They are called Fool's Moon and Grave Peril. These are by Jim Butcher. They are the Dresden Files, if you don't know, is the story of Harry Dresden, who is basically a wizard for hire. He's kind of like a private detective, but he's a wizard. So if you have some problem that requires wizarding, supernatural kind of stuff, you can hire Harry. I enjoyed the first one. Looking forward to getting deeper in the series because by all accounts, the series gets better as you get farther into it. So me and some buddies are doing a buddy read where we're going to try and read 2 of these a month for the foreseeable future. So I'm looking forward to that. Next up, I'm going to be reading 2 short story collections this month. I thought that would be great for like my limited chunks of time where I could just sit down and maybe read one short story. So I'm going to be reading Trigger Warning by Neil Gaiman. I've always loved his short story collections. His Angels and Visitations is one of my favorites. He's such a great short story writer. Chivalry, if you haven't read it, is such a beautiful story. He's such a great short story writer, and this is a new collection, so I'm very much looking forward to getting into that in the near future this month. Also, I'm going to be reading Nothing Gold Can Stay by Ron Rash. Ron Rash is a writer from Western North Carolina, which I'm in Eastern Tennessee, so it's like right across the border from me. He's just a beautiful writer. His book, Serena, is one of my all-time favorite books. And he writes about this area that I live in, which makes it more interesting. This is a collection of his short stories that all take place in the Appalachian Mountains here in this region of Appalachia. It's a pretty thin book, but he's such a wonderful writer, and I've never read any of his short stories, so I'm interested to see how they hold together. For the Year of Cosmere, I'm going to be reading Steelheart. The other book this month is Rhythmatist. I have already read that, so just Steelheart for me, but I love me some superheroes. I love Brandon Sanderson, so, I'm really looking forward to this one. Can't go wrong. Next, another really short book is Jennifer Government. This is by Max Berry, the author of Lexicon, which, if you've been watching my channel very long, you know that I love Lexicon. Jennifer Government is his book before Lexicon, which it's about kind of like a sort of dystopian future. That's very much the world is controlled by corporations. Whatever corporation you work for, you take that as your last name. So the main character is Hack Nike. Apparently works for Nike, and I believe he gets into some trouble with a creative way he has of trying to market some new shoes, and he draws the attention of Jennifer Government, who is a government agent, hence her last name being Government. She works for the government. But since the government doesn't really have funding and everything's very corporate in this time period, she has to apparently like raise money for her own assignments. If she wants to go like fight crime, she has to like raise the money to do so through like capitalistic means, because the world's all about capitalism in this book. So really interesting. I love the way Max Beard writes, and interested to see how this one turns out. The final book I want to talk about is a little bit longer book. It's the one book that's a little longer I'm reading this month, and it is Tiger Man by Nick Harkaway. I came across this book through Joe Hill. He's talked about it on Twitter and on his Tumblr. He doesn't recommend a ton of books, but when he does, I have really good experiences with them. He recommended the last one that he recommended to me, not me personally. Last one he recommended that I picked up was Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet by David Mitchell. And that turned out to be one of my favorite books and really got me interested in David Mitchell, and read a bunch of his other works since then. So he's really raved a lot about this book, so I'm interested in reading it. It is the story apparently of a British Secret Service type agent who is like on the verge of retirement, and he is on this island where because of like a lot of chemical plants, I guess this island is really toxic and it's basically slowly being evacuated. And this government agent befriends a young man in the town or on the island who needs some help, and our hero tries to help him. And apparently the kid's very obsessed with comic books, and he looks at the main character as kind of almost like a comic book superhero. I think that's where Tiger Man comes in. But the island is slowly getting worse and basically dying and being evacuated, and he's trying to help this kid. One of the Goodreads reviews I glanced at called it an apocalypse story writ small, which I thought was a great turn of phrase. This island, almost like a mini apocalypse for this little island. It's supposed to be a great book. I'm really looking forward to it. That'll be my big book that I read this month. It's not that big. It's like 400 pages. But compared to the other books, it's going to be the biggest. That is what I'm going to read this month. The final thing I want to talk about this month is my schedule. I'm trying to do a new, little more disciplined schedule with this channel, where on Mondays I release a book review. On Wednesdays I release a comic review, and Thursdays I do something miscellaneous. Could be a TBR, could be a discussion of a genre, it could be a song, something like that. That's the schedule I'm going to try to stick to for the next couple months, so we'll see how that goes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great June. I will talk to you next time. Bye.